The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by the Premium Cigars at Havana Smoke Shop. Visit their 2 locations, I-55 in Jackson and on the Res, for your premium cigar needs. Only at Havana Smoke Shop.
8 a.m. Why don't you shut up? Oh, my God! And let's get down to some real business. On the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. If it's a hot story, we're digging deeper. It's the hottest. And it's on your home for nonstop sports. The Zone 105.9 and online at The Zone. It's hot. 1059.com.
That didn't take long for Jordan Spieth to go from 3 under to 5 under. The British Open, the Open Championship, off and underway. Our leaderboard updates brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 1059 The Zone. We're streaming live on the Zone1059.com and the Out of Bounds radio app. Jordan Spieth, 5 under. Although I don't know if that shot's good right there. Is it going to hang on the green? Yeah, he's all right. So Spieth goes from, fast, from 2 to 3 to 5 under. He's on top of the leaderboard. Jordan Spieth on top of the leaderboard for the Open Championship, brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. That's where you go. By the way, they've got a big event next week we'll tell you more about, which is pretty awesome. Edwin Watts Golf Shop for all your golf clubs, golf balls before you hit Live Oaks Golf Club. Blake, if you see another big name on the leaderboard, just let me know, please, sir. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the Great Steaks and Four Roses Bourbon at Kessler Prime in the Renaissance. Visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Also, check out the Rack of Lamb. And you'll need to ask, it is soft-shell crab season. It's hit and miss because they get it in and it goes out the door pretty quick. But they can do an appetizer or an entree on the soft-shell crab side. So KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Want to welcome you in, say good morning. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations to all the Ole Miss, Southern Miss, and Mississippi State players who were drafted in the Major League Baseball draft this week. Very, very exciting. Also, good to see a bunch of guys come back. Both Mississippi State and Ole Miss will have like 6 to 7 starters back in baseball, which is unbelievable. So we'll continue to monitor that and see how that looks. SEC Media Days is next week. I don't think you're going to get a lot out of it. We're not going to go. There's restrictions because of COVID. It had already gotten boring, but you throw COVID restrictions, and I'm not even going to go over there for a day and a half or so. Plus, that drive is boring to me.
You don't want to hear,
"Go Hogs." Yes, sir.
Well, those guys fly in and out. If you could guarantee me that Sam Pittman was going to stay and I could drink a cold Coors Light with him and hang out, then I would go. But
would he be one of your top current sitting coaches to hang out with? Just like a one-nighter like party. Not necessarily, but like go to dinner. Yeah, go dinner, have a drink.
Let me go through the mix here.
I feel like he'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, Pittman would be number one.
He'd be pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, I've hung out with Leach. Kiffin, he's great on Twitter, but he's a total introvert. So he's not what people think as far as a big,
table,
handshaking, chewing the fat type dude. Mullen, I've hung out with him. Dan's come a long way. Ed Ogeron, to me, would want to headbutt somebody at the table. And really, when I'm at dinner, that's not what I'm looking for. But I think he would be interesting. His stories would be great, and I think he could captivate the audience throughout.
If you could get Detillier there spurring him on.
Well, that's true.
Getting him to open up.
Him? Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I would think that Jimbo is better one-on-one. I mean, he's so boring at the podium.
Oh, he's so
boring.
He'll
put you – if you want to go to sleep next week, just wait till Jimbo comes up to the podium.
Or Kirby.
Yeah, Kiffin will not be that. I mean, again, Kiffin's very witty on Twitter. I don't expect much on and Leach will tell some random story about some kind of treasure, something that he found in Key West a month ago.
Remember when he dropped this on the show?
If a wise man had a dove in his pocket and a rock in his hand, where's the bullfrog?
I don't know. We still haven't found it. And
that was the
Leach was in
first time
studio.
we met him.
Where's the bullfrog? We should do a segment this fall We should do one segment a week
called
this
Where's
fall,
the Bullfrog?
Where's the Bullfrog?
And we just come up with where it is?
Yeah.
I love it.
And then we should do another segment. What did you do after your 5th Doc Rocker?
Yeah.
And then people could, the best story wins like, $500 worth of gift certificates to Bravo, Kessler Prime, and Drago's and Roosevelt's.
After your 5th Doc Rocker, you were finding the Bullfrog.
Right. I found the Bullfrog at the dock. It's like Clue. I found the Bullfrog at the dock after my 5th Doc Rocker.
Yeah. I was riding it.
Right. Yeah. I went home with it. Had to take it back to DeWitt.
Well, unfortunately, there probably were a lot of people who went home with some Bullfrogs.
There were a lot of people who ended up getting married.
Because of mistakes at the dock.
Yes. Well, I think some of them ended up probably being good hookups.
Yeah.
And some ended up were like, hey, what happened? It's the whole chew your arm off. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Girl, man or woman. You wake up and you're like, ooh, I didn't. Oh, no, you did. That was so much fun when we were at the alumni house and we had the hookup drop-off segment.
The Walk of Shame?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Electric.
I had no idea that was going to take off the way it did. But
I could have told you.
Yeah.
That's a must watch. That's must listen to radio.
I mean, these were grown people. Everybody did the deal. Everybody went through that in college.
But these were like adults.
You wake up and you're kind of in the wrong apartment. And you got cotton mouth. You're dying. You need a Gatorade within 10 minutes. And you're not exactly sure where you are. Those things happen. But at the dock, I think it was just common, type deal. Where was I going with that? Do you remember?
No idea.
Okay.
Well, we were talking about Mike Leach and SEC Media Days.
Let me go back to that real quick. Okay. Sam Pittman is the guy who I'd like to go to dinner with because I think he'd be a great storyteller.
Agreed.
I do think Ogeron would be too. I don't know anything about Brian Harsin. I think Saban would be great in a setting of like 4 to 6 people. If you were in a private room at a restaurant, he would open up a little bit and share stories about Don James, who he coached for, Bill Belichick.
He seems like the type that would
Lane Kiffin working for him.
Yeah,
I mean, all sort of Sark coming through these. All the different people that he has either worked with, coached, worked for. I think Saban would be a lot better than we think he would.
Agreed.
I mean, when the Golf Channel did the deal on Saban, it actually turned out, when Faraday did the deal with Saban at his lake house, it was good.
He's charismatic in the right moments.
He's very, very charismatic.
And I think
much more than people give him credit for.
Well, because all they hear is, I'm not going to talk about that on the media, or we're not rat poison.
Yeah.
See, I think he's one of those people where as long as you're not asking him about Alabama football currently,
right,
he would tell great, like you said, with Belichick.
And he's going to protect his players. If you're coming after one of his players, he's going to shut you down.
100%.
I don't blame him.
Correct.
It's his people.
But in a, like you said, in a dinner situation, I think he'd tell great stories about guys he's coached with, for, etc.
And, I'd love to know more about that Cleveland Browns run with Bill Belichick and Ozzie Newsome. Belichick's greatest coach of all time in the NFL. Ozzie Newsome's one of the greatest general managers of all time. And then there were a lot of other people on those staffs that I think are fascinating when Belichick got fired.
And it still didn't work out. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Because it proves, just like we see in sports, just because you put a lot of talent together doesn't always mean it works out the right way.
Right.
And the owner
made a terrible decision.
Well, that's true, too.
Yeah, he made a terrible decision.
One of a million terrible decisions.
And I'm sorry, NFL Chuck, if you're listening to the show, that y'all fired the best coach in the history of the NFL. But Stefanski looks like he's a good coach.
Go Browns!
Baker Mayfield, baby.
He's got some back-end MVP odds.
Odell Beckham, this is going to be the last year for Odell in Cleveland. This is it.
I agree.
I mean, not that he's really had that big of impact. They really don't need him. It goes to show you why, we've talked about that with wide receivers. But I think this is it. And if he stays, he hadn't been healthy in 5 years? Isn't that incredible? He missed the best part of his 20s, either hurt or messing around. And the guy's just a phenomenal talent. Right? Incredible. The show is brought to you by the Charbroiled Oysters at Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar. Leaderboard update coming up from the British Open, brought to you by Edwin White's Golf Shop on County Line Road. Jordan Spieth is 5 under. We'll be back in a second.
You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show podcast, presented by Independent Roofing Systems. If you want it done right the first time, visit Independent Roofing Systems today.
Yeah, we were talking SEC Media Days. I mean, it's not that interesting anyway, but now with COVID restrictions, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like next week. I mean, maybe you do get something from Leach or Kiffin or Sam Pittman or Ed Ogeron. You know, I don't expect anything from Saban, Brian Harsin, Jimbo, Mullen. Kirby's boring. Heupel, I don't know a lot about, but he seems boring. Shane Beamer, nah. Can't remember the Vanderbilt coach's name. Nobody cares anyway. Stoops at Kentucky. What's his name? Elijah Drinkwater or Drink something?
Elijah Drinkwitz.
Yeah, Drinkwitz. He's at Missouri, but nobody really considers them as part of the SEC. I don't know. It will be interesting to see what exactly you get next week. I do want to say this. You know, a lot of the Mississippi State guys listeners have been giving me a hard time because of, you know, I've been talking about Matt Corral and how I think Ole Miss has a chance to obviously have a big year. I don't know what that will look like necessarily as far as wins, but they have an opportunity. Do I think they'll win the West? No. Do I think they can upset anybody, including Bama? Yes. Do I think Corral will be will be the best quarterback in the SEC? Absolutely. But I will say this, Mike Leach will upset somebody. He did it last year. He upset LSU.
It's true.
He upsets somebody every year. So he's going to go get somebody. He almost upset Georgia, if you remember. At Georgia, in Athens, you remember what was going on with 2 minutes left in the game. Mm-hmm. And they were not expected to be in that game. You know, I thought that game could be like 35-10.
Yeah.
And with 2 minutes left, Georgia was, you know what, freaking out in their seat, right? Losing their minds. And in MSU had a whopping 46 players dressed out that night.
That's right.
With a true freshman. So Leach will upset somebody. I just don't, you know, I don't know who that is. I'll give you the best opportunity to upset someone in the first half of the season for MSU is LSU at home. All right. In the back half of the season, I would say, there's not a lot of opportunities there. At Vandy, they're not going to be an underdog. Kentucky at home, they won't be an underdog. At Arkansas, even if Arkansas is favored, it will only be by like 2, 3, 3.5 points. Okay.
Yep.
At Auburn, they'll be an underdog. Tennessee State, whatever. And then Ole Miss at home will be a very tight, close line. So I'm not sure, and Bama's on the kind of, you know, the other side, if you will, and I don't see them upsetting Bama. So their best opportunity, I would think, would be LSU at home or at A&M.
Can I give you why I think it's A&M? Isn't LSU going to be out for blood?
You would think so.
They didn't lose last year. They got embarrassed.
Yeah.
You don't give up 700-plus passing yards at home as LSU. I think they're going to be so ready to just skull drag Mike Leach and Mississippi State that game. I think A&M might set up better for Mississippi State, even though it's on the road.
Okay. Are we going to Drug Dog?
Yes,
all right,
sir.
Drug Dog is on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, and he would like to share a story from his days where he was a legend at the dock. Drug Dog?
Oh, Bo, I wish I was a legend. I do have a kind of, I thought was a funny story. When Mrs. Drug Dog and I would take little daughter Drug Dog, both of them, up to the dock, and they had their life jackets on, and we pull our boat up on the outside, you know, where the open dock is, and it's packed. It's packed as usual, and this waitress walks up, beautiful blonde hair, gorgeous, diamonds dripping off of her ears, neck, rings, watch, just like, wow. And I was like, this just didn't fit the typical protocol waitress at the dock. Nothing, no offense to them. Great ladies. So we order our dock rockers and get our food, and the waitress comes out, and I just said, okay, something doesn't fit. I mean, all of these waitresses are nice, but you look a little bit different and dress a little bit different and got a little bit more bling on them. She goes, oh, I'm Renee DeWeese. I own the dock. Gotcha. Everything makes sense now. So, yeah, she was out there slinging drinks and stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Sure. When it's a family-owned business, everybody's got to take a role, my man, right?
That's right. A little trivia. Do you remember the last band that played at the dock?
Well, it wasn't Prince.
No, it wasn't Prince. It was actually.
Give me a hint.
They're from the Delta and huge. Big 70s band. 60s, 70s band.
I don't remember. Temptations?
Cracker Jacks.
Oh, Cracker.
The Cracker Jacks.
Okay.
The Cracker Jacks were the last band.
They were the last band in 2004 to play at the dock?
Yes, in my party.
Were you there?
What do you think?
Am I breathing? I think that's what you were about to say. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Had my party barge pulled up there with all of our friends. So anyway, great interview with Mr. DeWeese. That was good, man. So hey, I got a conference call. I got to run.
Okay, buddy, make some money, man.
I like that he refers to his wife as Mrs. Drug Dog.
He always does that. It's really funny.
It's hilarious.
That was a good story. That was worth taking the call on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line.
True Maroon says, it sounds like after all these stories, being called a legend at the dock might not be the moniker you want to have.
Well, it depends. Okay, there were some people that were able to be kind of a dock legend and do it the right way, and then there were others that didn't. It just kind of depended on what was going on. I mean, I never really walked in thinking that anybody was a legend there, but maybe some people did. I don't know who like the number one dock customer, I guess, would be, so to speak. But I did have friends that went religiously, a couple of times a week for a pretty long period of time. I was never that way, but obviously I've been in the dock, over 100 times, but I mean, like, there were some of my friends that over about a 5 or 6 year stretch, I mean, they were there.
Dropped tens of thousands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were there a lot.
Yeah.
They were there
I don't know if there's a place, there are restaurants and hangouts around here, but I don't know if there's a general hangout like that where people are that committed to it anymore, Yeah. Like, we have our favorite restaurant spots, and there might be a bar that you go to once a week or something like that, but like there's nothing like the dock anymore. I just don't know what it would be.
So somebody on our Mississippi Ag text line said it sounds like a poor man's Shuckers. Actually, I would flip that.
Yeah, 100%.
Shuckers would be a poor man's dock, in my opinion. And I get that Shuckers serves a purpose, and it's a lot of fun to go, and depends on what you're doing and whatnot. The dock was amazing. I mean, it was on the water. Shuckers is not. Obviously, they've had a good business, but the dock, when you're on the water, it just brings it's when you can drive a boat up to a bar and restaurant. It's just like when you're on the Back Bay in Orange Beach. There are some super cool bars that you can jump on a boat and go, and there's just something fun about stepping off a boat onto the pier, walking up to a bar and ordering a cheeseburger or a shrimp po' boy with your friends. And, it's sunshine and you're having a good time. So I would say that the dock is the coolest thing that's been on the reservoir. Now, what's the one that's on there now? Like the bar grill?
I don't know.
Pelican something?
Pelican Cove, something like that, yeah. I don't ever go.
Tucker, have you ever been to Pelican Cove? Surprise.
I don't ever go. I barely go to Shuckers.
You've never been to Pelican Cove? That surprises me considering your age.
No, I have been. It's been years.
Okay,
and I don't go to,
I think I've been once.
Like
15 years
we've
ago.
talked about this.
But I'm not sure I really have.
That's a much more dangerous.
Do we need to go?
Yeah, that's a much more dangerous drive home than it used to be. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm not driving.
Yeah.
And if I go, I'm going at 3 in the afternoon. for a cold beer. I'm getting out of there. I mean, I'm not meeting anybody at 9:30 at night. That's insane. Why would I do that? Live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by an ice-cold Modelo. David Helman coming up next, Cowboys Insider. They're going to be on Hard Knocks. We'll discuss straight ahead. You can order award-winning Jonesy Q rubs and sauces at jonesyq.com. Use promo code OOBSHOW if you order $20 or more and receive free shipping. That's jonesyq.com. Promo code OOBSHOW. All right, good morning. Welcome in the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Our leaderboard updates for the Open Championship, or the British Open, brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Before you hit Live Oaks Golf Club or Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, you want to go to Edwin Watts Golf Shop to get your golf game where it needs to be. Golf clubs, golf balls, everything golf, Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Blake, who's the leader? Is it still Spieth?
No, Louis Oosthuizen is 6 under.
Okay.
Spieth is 5 under. His round is done. Oosthuizen has one more hole.
Spieth's already done.
5 under.
All right, gotcha.
Yep.
All right, cool. There you go. There's your leaderboard update for the British Open, brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. The Out of Bounds Show, we're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. We want to welcome in David Helman, Cowboys Insider, DallasCowboys.com. David joins us on the Modelo guest line. So, David, when do you head to Oxnard, California, and Dallas Cowboys training camp?
Our flight leaves on Tuesday morning, pretty early, so it's here, man. It snuck up on me a little bit, even though I tried to enjoy the downtime, but we'll be out there in less than a week.
Is that I guess that's not early. Is that earlier than some years, or is it just about
early? Well, the Cowboys play in the Hall of Fame game, which is the first preseason game of the year. So
okay,
the teams that play in that game are allowed to go to camp a week early. So I mean, we're starting 4 or 5 days ahead of most of the league, so it is a little bit early.
Gotcha. Okay, Hard Knocks. The Cowboys. This makes me nervous, but the Cowboys have decided to be the Hard Knocks team. And, I was thinking about this. I know Dak is going to be, he won't tip his hand or anything, and he'll be good on the show. But, is Jerry Jones going to take over this thing, and it'll just be Jerry's show? How do you see this playing out, David?
I mean, it's a fascinating subplot because there's no shortage of characters that could be interesting storylines on this team, and Jerry Jones is one of them. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he's going to be a visible part of it, but between Dak and his, comeback from his injury, the new draft pick Micah Parsons is quite a personality. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott is going to have all eyes on him trying to come back from a disappointing season. I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm so close to it, but, I can't think of many more interesting teams to, have a documentary about them. And fortunately for the Cowboys, I know it makes a lot of people nervous, I guess. I don't really agree, just because you should be used to this if you play for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, this is the type of spotlight and the microscope that they play under all of the time. This is actually, they haven't done Hard Knocks in a while, but they had another documentary done about them back in 2017, and it actually followed them all through the season instead of just training camp. So I don't think too many of the vets on this team will be fazed by it.
That's a great point. That's a good point, considering the star and the Cowboys. David Helman on the Modelo guest line, DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys will kick off camp next week, as David shared with us, and I'd forgotten about. They'll be in the Hall of Fame game, so they get to start a week early. Have you had an opportunity to see Dak work out within the last month or so?
Not so much in the last month, but I mean, I was there all through OTAs and minicamp. I watched all of his practices. I'm very fortunate to have an office at the facility, so I've seen some of his workouts throughout the spring. I know he's still keeping his schedule. He's doing all the same stuff he has been, but obviously the team breaks at the end of at the end of the off-season program. I guess they've technically been off since like early June, I guess. So I haven't seen him in the last month or so, but I have it on very good authority that he's maintained the same work habits that he always has.
Yeah. And I mean, look, he was jumping up and down a little bit at the College World Series, cheering for Mississippi State. So, I mean, things seem to be progressing the way that they should be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, and I'm with you. Like when the off-season program started, and when Dak signed his contract, he made a few jokes about, I thought about jumping up on this podium just to show you all that I could do it, and I had some doubts. Obviously, why wouldn't you have doubts about how far he is in his progress? But even without getting to training camp, Dak has completely eased any concerns that I might have had. I mean, like I said, I got to watch the guy practice 7 or 8 times over the course of the spring. He can run on that thing. He can jump. He can throw it 40 yards downfield, torquing off of his plant leg, which was, I think he did that on the first day of OTA practices, and I said, okay, he seems fine. So I mean, it's amazing. Probably in May or maybe April, I was like, well, hopefully he'll be ready for training camp. And after a week or two of watching him practice, I was like, oh, yeah, he's 100% ready to go. Like, he doesn't even look like anything happened to him.
Man, that's good news. David Helman, Cowboys Insider, DallasCowboys.com. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. They'll go out to Oxnard, California, get ready for the season, and they'll play in the Hall of Fame game. David, is there any doubt that this is Dak's team, that he kind of runs the show, runs the locker room, and so on?
None whatsoever. And, I mean, that's the amazing thing about him. Doing a show in Mississippi, y'all get it. He's been that guy since he was a rookie. Like, he took ownership of this team from the time he got here. And maybe it wasn't completely his team back then, but it is now. The Jason Wittens of the world, Sean Lee, those guys have retired. A lot of the vets that had seniority over him are gone. It's weird to think, but he's already one of the more longer tenured players on this team after just 4 or 5 years. And on top of that, he's the quarterback. And on top of that, the Cowboys just made a $160 million investment in him. So, no, I mean, there's no doubt whatsoever. I think everybody in the organization from the top down knows that he's the guy, and he's going to be the key to whatever success they have.
Yeah. The Jordan brand shoes, has he offered you a pair?
Man, I wish, because I'm a little bit of a sneakerhead, and it's fun. Again, you get to work around the facility. We're very fortunate to have access that a lot of other people don't. And I actually saw him, taking publicity photos and doing those sorts of things, for the upcoming season before his shoe deal got announced. And everybody was joking with him because he was wearing Jordans, and we were, just laughing about what that contract probably looked like.
Golly. So, have you heard, by the way? I mean, do you have any inside scoop on that, roughly?
I don't know the numbers, but I guarantee you it's a nice little situation for the face of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, what a year for him. But unfortunately, no, he hasn't offered me any kicks yet. I hope he does.
Yeah, maybe you'll score some out in Oxnard. You never know. David Helman, DallasCowboys.com. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Is there any doubt in your mind, before I get to the defense, is there any doubt in your mind with Dak, Zeke, that offensive line? All right. Yeah, I know that, we've got these guys, the veterans are coming back. Everybody's hoping they're healthy. If they stay relatively healthy on the line, is there any doubt that they'll finish in the top 8 to 12 on offense in the league, David?
If they're all healthy, not in my mind. I mean, that is the only question that I can come up with. I mean, if everybody's relatively healthy, I think top 5, honestly. And that goes back to, we saw what they did in 2019. I know the overall results weren't what they wanted, but the offense was absolutely explosive. That was before they drafted CeeDee Lamb. And then obviously the first 5 weeks of the year before Dak got hurt, again, not the results they wanted, but it wasn't for a lack of ability to score. So, yeah, I mean, if everybody's healthy and ready to go for at least the majority of the season, I think this is going to be one of the very best groups in the league.
Okay, does people know how good Amari Cooper is? And, you know, but with CD, you know, you could just see these flashes of talent and brilliance. Is he and Gallup's good, okay, but could CD become the biggest playmaker on the team for Dak this year, David?
I mean, I don't want to doubt him. He's a special player. It was unbelievable that he fell to 17th overall, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on CD because he kind of fell by the wayside because he played 11 games with backup quarterbacks. And he still had a really good season, but I think we'd be talking about him a little bit more if he had had a chance to work more with Dak Prescott. Now, having said that, I think a lot of people also sleep on just how good Amari Cooper is. Like, he kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit, I think. And, you know, he's not as good as guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas maybe, but, you know, I think he's certainly one of the top 8 to 10 receivers in the league. He had a 1,100-yard season last year and really was consistently dynamic despite not having Dak for most of that. So, you know, I don't know if I'm ready to say CD is going to surpass Amari Cooper, but I think they're both, you know, in line to have very, very good seasons if they've got Dak throwing them the ball.
All right, the offensive line. Walk me through, you know, the Stars have missed a ton of, you may even know off the top of your head about the last 3 seasons, 4, how many starts they have missed combined. You know, but how do you feel about the big names coming back, you know, and trying to be healthy maybe one more season, David?
Yeah, I mean, for my money, like I said, I'm not worried about Dak Prescott. I think that's a freak injury. It's a broken bone. That's not really something that you've got to worry about happening again. And he attacked his rehab like it was nothing. So, you know, I'm not worried about Dak's durability. I think the offensive line's durability is really one of the major storylines that's going to determine how successful their season is. You know, Tyron Smith, he's in his 30s now. This is his 10th or 11th season in the league. And, you know, he's got the type of problems that do reoccur. You know, he's got neck issues, he's got back issues, shoulder issues, you know, the type of things that typically don't get better. Now, fortunately for him, he had a major surgery that ended his season, and I think the hope is that going in there and really cleaning some of that stuff up instead of just trying to fight through it will help him. But, you know, everybody's optimistic about those types of things in July. We'll see what it looks like in October. Similar situation for Lyle Collins. You know, he had a nasty hip injury that put him out for the entire season, had to go have a major surgery on it. And I know, like I said, you know, he rehabbed with Dak all offseason as well. Like, these guys have been working really, really hard. But it, you know, they're the types of injuries that make you wonder. So
right.
If those two guys are, you know, if they're healthy for the majority of the season, they're one of the very best tackle duos in the NFL. You know, Tyron Smith has a chance to go to the Hall of Fame depending on how much longer he plays. And Lyle Collins is one of the 3 or 4 best right tackles in football for my money. So if they're healthy, like I said, I mean, they have a chance to help this be one of the best offenses in the league. It's just they're the type of injuries that make you wonder a little bit.
Yeah. David Helman, Cowboys Insider, DallasCowboys.com on the Modelo guest line. Believe it or not, the Cowboys will be in training camp. Dak Prescott and the crew next week in Oxnard, California, getting ready for the Hall of Fame game. And we'll see what the NFC East looks like this year. Quarterbacks outside of Dak don't really scare you, so you would think it's a good opportunity to win the NFC East. David Helman on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. With the defense, if they can just move up and be 7, 8, 9 spots better, knowing that you feel really good about the offense throwing up, some really enough points most every weekend. So if the defense improves 7 to 9 spots, what could the Cowboys be this year, David?
I mean, that's your hope, right? This is not a supremely talented defense. They've got a couple of playmakers, guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory, and then you add Micah Parsons to the mix. The hope is basically that last year was an aberration, which I tend to think it was. Like I said, this isn't a great defense, but they were atrocious last year. They were one of the worst in the entire league. Which even with this talent level in years past, they've been better than that. And so I think your hope is your defense can trend more toward mediocre instead of outright bad. And if that you mentioned it earlier. I think just based on the offense alone and the fact that this is a weak division, I think the Cowboys have the talent to win the NFC East with, 9 or 10 wins. Now, if the defense can raise its play a couple more notches, I think this is a team that's capable of winning as many as 12 or 13 games if they hit all the right notes. It's just a matter of whether or not they can do that. And, a big part of that is how much better the defense can play than last year. Because if they get, if they don't get significant improvement on that side of the ball, I don't think you're going to see the win total bump up very much.
Yeah, no, but you would have to believe that the Dan Quinn hire, considering his resume and track record, I mean, you just have to believe he moves them up at least 5 or 6 spots, if not, 7 or 8, right?
Well, I think the thing that, if I'm a Cowboy fan, the thing that gives me optimism about the Dan Quinn hire is just that he's got a lot of experience running a scheme that these guys are familiar with.
Yeah. And
he's not going to run the exact same defense that Rod Marinelli ran or Chris Richard, but it's a defense that these guys have played in. They played in a similar scheme in 2019 and 2018 and 2017. And like I said a minute ago, they were never great running that scheme, but they were also not bad. They hovered around the middle of the league. They were top 10 in scoring in 2018, the last time they made the playoffs. So running a defense like this has produced solid results for them. And I think that's one of the reasons they wanted Dan Quinn, is they said, okay, we know the guys we have on hand can play this scheme and play it well. So let's get back to doing what we know. Especially in a year where COVID restrictions might hinder what we can do.
Sure.
So I think the hope for them is kind of getting back to basics a little bit and getting back to stuff that they know they can do rather than trying to completely overhaul the defense.
Yeah. Okay. Dan Quinn, for our listeners, new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, was with the Falcons head coach for years and then was with the Seahawks and Pete Carroll. I mean, he knows his stuff. So you would think that they can take at least a couple of small steps forward and be much more competitive. David Helman, Cowboys insider, on the Modelo guest line, talking Dak and the Cowboys. By the way, we'll have 17 games this year, which is weird and interesting. So you don't go 8-8, you go 8-9 or 9-8 or whatever, 10-7, which is different. You mentioned Hard Knocks and the fact that there's so much media around this organization day to day anyway, that it really won't faze the veterans. When Dak steps up to the podium, week in, week out, how many people are in there, David? I mean, how many? I know there is a ton of people who cover, the Cowboys in the Dallas metro area. How many people, give or take, are covering the Cowboys when Dak's at the podium?
Well, and obviously it's been a little bit weird the last year and a half because of COVID, so it's been a lot of teleconferences. But I mean, and the funny thing is the Cowboys are one of the few teams in the NFL that hasn't really adopted the podium lifestyle, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like, so when Dak talks, he does it at his locker.
I got you.
In the locker room, and but just to sort of give you an idea, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a big game. If Dak talks on a Wednesday before just some random week 3 game, oh my God. I mean, there's probably 16 reporters and 6 camera crews in front of him. I mean, like if it's non-COVID times and everything's normal, there's probably 35 people crowded around his locker, which is a really funny scene. We've joked about this a lot. Like, if your locker's next to Dak, you're screwed until he gets done talking to the media, because there's not room for you to sit down. So that's kind of my point. I remember 2 years ago they signed Randall Cobb, the Green Bay Packers receiver. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers have had a ton of success. They've won a Super Bowl in the last decade. They go to the playoffs all the time. Randall Cobb said during OTAs and minicamp, he was like, there's more people here for off-season practices than used to be in Green Bay during the playoffs.
Incredible.
I mean, it's a different animal, and nobody handles it better than Dak Prescott, by the way. Like, he is a magician when it comes to dealing with the media, saying the right thing, dealing with the scrutiny. And so that's kind of my point is, it's going to add another layer of intrigue, and it's probably going to be a circus at training camp with all the extra cameras, but Dak Prescott's not going to be fazed by it, and I'm guessing most of his teammates won't be either.
Nah, you're right, though, about the scrutiny. If anybody can handle it, it's Dak. And being under the microscope every single day when you're wearing the star as the quarterback on with that helmet. David Helman, Cowboys Insider, DallasCowboys.com. David, we'll wrap it up with this. And I don't know your relationship with either one, but does Bobby Belt and Marcus Mosher crack you up like they crack? We follow all you guys, obviously, but do they crack you up like they crack us up on Twitter?
Oh, absolutely. And so, I mean, Marcus, I've never actually met Marcus, because in this day and age, you can cover a team from anywhere. I don't even know where Marcus lives. He doesn't live in the Dallas area. But
I think he's in Vegas.
Is he? Well, that would make sense if he also does work with the Raiders.
Right.
But Bobby is a great friend of mine. He lives in the DFW area. He does a lot of work with NFL Network, so I see and work with him very often. And he kind of makes it his mission in life to give me a hard time on the internet, which I appreciate. We're very fortunate in the Cowboys beat. It's a very visible beat. It's a very competitive beat.
Sure.
But we all get along, in real life very, very well. So Bobby's a good friend of mine. And I love talking to those guys.
It's funny. Some of y'all's Twitter back and forth is hilarious. And I just we get cracked up because we follow all y'all because of Dak. And watching Belt or Mosher on a game day is pure. Like, I'll sit down. Usually we're on an SEC campus on Saturday. Well, you know that. You're an LSU grad. And so we're heavy SEC West, as you know. And but then we get in the morning on Sunday and turn on the Red Zone, and obviously we watch every play of anything Dak is doing. But I'll open a beer mid-afternoon, and it's pure entertainment watching Belt and Mosher on game day. I mean, especially last year.
Yeah.
The meltdowns were epic. But anyway. Hey, man, enjoy your trip to Oxnard. We hope to catch up with you several times throughout the season. And we always appreciate your time, David. Thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Thanks.
David Helman does a great job covering the Cowboys, DallasCowboys.com. He joined us on the Modelo guest line. They're heading to Oxnard, California next Tuesday as they get ready for training camp and the Hall of Fame game that will be here before you know it in Canton, Ohio, with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. He is healthy. The ankle/leg looks good. Yeah, he was jumping up and down in Omaha, both in the stands and the locker room. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We'll have another British Open Championship update for you. Look at that. Stuart Sink, 4 under at the Open Championship.